Hey everyone, today going to be talking about what is title tag for SEO. Again, this is Joey at Y SEO Services. Um, Welcome. And yeah, this is another very important topic. It's really the I keep saying this every video, but it is the bread and butter of SEO, right? Title. What the heck is a title tag? Well, understand if you have a web content, let's say an article or media article, website, landing page, even video, right? It's really a summary, but not just for. It's really not for users. Well, it is, but it's also for the algorithm, Google's algorithm, Google's search engine crawler. It's because the way the algorithm works, it can only read text, right? It's not like us people reading a page. We can kind of quickly glimpse and kind of understand, what this site is really about. But it's almost like feeding the algorithm and just kind of like telling them, hey, these are the list of keywords that we want to be associated with in terms of ranking in your search engine. So the title tag is so important. If you don't really utilize it, you don't optimize it, it's probably why your organic search traffic is not doing so well. Um, yeah, so it's so important that we try to use that space or metadata field and try to optimize it the best way we can. Um, in this article that I wrote, I show some examples. Like, this article is saying how to optimize your title tag for SEO, right? So that's kind of like what my title should be targeting, because there's probably keyword search volume for the word title tag and SEO and optimization. So you need to do keyword research, obviously. That's how you know what keywords to target and to get how much, the chance of getting how much of that search volume traffic percentage towards your site. Obviously, you also need to consider the difficulty. How many other websites are competing for this keyword? Do they have a lot of backlinks? Are they using paid media to help rank for this keyword as well? Those are a lot. Those are more advanced things that one must know. But today I will probably just talk through the basics. So notice these two title tags, right? It's really talking about the same thing, but it's different. But did you notice anything different between these two? If you notice, there's a number in the second one, right? So understand, based on experience, numbers can boost click-through rates. For some reason, people like to see numbers. It's probably easy to read and interpret, and probably entices them to know that, there's only 10 tips, or there are 10 tips. So they won't have to think like, I have to go into the article and figure out, what are the tips when we list it out easily for them, right? It's kind of like that. In some ways, it's psychology, right? Yeah. So notice this one. Moz is a famous SEO company, very well known back then. I want to say it's not the most well known company. It offers tools and services. The founder, Rent Fishkin, who left to start his own new company called Spark Turtle, which has a different service need. It's no longer just really all focusing on SEO anymore. So feel free to check it out. It's really more, in my opinion, it's more about how you can work with other channels, particularly like social. Because understand, SEO alone cannot really succeed as well when you don't utilize the other channels to benefit one another. All right. So this is what a title tag looks like in the search result too, right? You got all these other metadata fields that are in search results. The paragraph below is meta description, which I'll probably write about it, talk about it next time. And then you got the what do you call these again? Well, these are the well, you got the breadcrumb on the top, and then you got your oh, this is so bad. But you got these additional links at the bottom, um, which it's harder than Pacers to control. You can't manually like just tag whatever additional search snippets you want to here. You Google's algorithm needs to kind of like interpret how your website's structured, your top navigation level, and what the people are really engaging, interacting, clicking on these things, and that's really how these will show up. Okay, but what are the best practices? Understand every metadata field has character limits. I know I wrote 60 below, but in the visual it says 70. Well, understand mobile and desktop's gonna look different. Obviously, on mobile device, the Google search engine results the characters might actually look bigger, and they might get cut off more easily. So I suggest to stick with 60. Desktop might have a little bit more leniency, but it's best to keep it under that limit so that it doesn't get cut off and kind of doesn't ruin the engagement, right? If people are reading the title and then you cut it off, it's kind of weird, right? And it's also like, while you're putting that keyword at the end and it gets cut off, then what's the point of putting that keyword you're trying to target to? But more importantly, why, how do we write it so it does well? Well, most important thing is relevancy, because you can't just stuff any keywords like paid search where you can test and put in your competitor keywords in your ads, But organic search is all about relevancy, trust, and all that. So if you try to do that, more likely it's not going to work. And Google might even think you're using some gray or black hat tactics, which eventually might flag your site. So you don't want that. Be penalized and having to lose rankings and traffic, right? So it's so important that you really need to understand your content also. Like, I wouldn't even suggest to write the title tag yet until you have the content finished, because this way you can better understand, what are the relevant keywords? Well, you probably should have already done the keyword research, so you know the keyword. However, but you need to really understand the entire content's context in order to summarize into a title tag. So it's better to do it after you finish writing, in my opinion. And then it needs to be relevant to your content, right? It needs to make sense, has connection. It's not going to be just putting keywords there for the sake of driving clicks, because Google algorithm doesn't work like that. Using modifiers is great, but not every content makes sense to use it. It's just because people tend to engage well with these words, like best, top, or guides, things like that. There might be other words, obviously. You need to test around to know for your industry or for your type of website content, what words work well. And then branding. So understand if you're a brand, big enterprise company, services, or even just small, mid-size, you guys have products. The brand name, if your brand product is strong, highly recommend to put it in front of the title tag. Now, if you're like a small, mid-sized company that's still rising and you're not ranking well, right? You don't have as much authority in the space, then putting your brand first may not make sense, right? We want to target non-brand keywords, which means it's really driving traffic from people who don't know about your brands yet, or don't associate this specific topic to your brands yet, right? So understand there's different strategy and tactics of using brand keywords. For the most part, I want to say, if you're not a strong brand, definitely don't put your brand first yet. All right. If you're Apple, right, the products, they're gonna put their brand names in there. If you notice his site, I don't even think they're doing SEO because the branding is so strong. But for sites that are still struggling or still starting to rank for organic traffic, highly recommend to focus more on non-brand terms and less on brand terms. Making sure each of your pages have different unique titles is very important. It shouldn't be the same as your headline, except for maybe like articles. news articles, right? Why would you want to rewrite the headline when you already like wrote one that's supposed to be attention grabbing? You want to drive clicks, right? But sometimes you don't want to use the same one because your headline may not have enough target keywords you want to rank for. Even though Google will probably say don't even worry about it, but from my experience, if your competitors are doing it and you're not, you're probably going to lose because, especially if your website's authority is not that strong yet, you don't have enough backlinks, you're just starting, right? That's why we need to do things differently. How do you help the little people beat the giants, right? This is the way to do it. So if you guys notice, sometimes Google search results doesn't really take in your suggested title text either. Well, there's reasons for that, and Google obviously they want to automate the process too, right? But for now, it's not completely automated where they just pull whatever they feel is the best title tag. But it's getting there, so be careful. If your title tag is not being used, it's number one, it's possible reason that I mentioned before, it's not relevant enough. It's not the best they think is addressing when people are searching for a specific keyword. So that's probably why it's important to make sure those keywords are there. Maybe it's too long, it's not good engagement, right? It's not readable. So they decide to use something else. And if it's not unique, right? It's duplicate title tags, which a lot of webmasters don't realize. If you don't optimize the title tags, there's a chance that you have a default setting where it's pulling the same title for each page, and that's going to be very bad for your SEO performance. Imagine a page that doesn't have anything to do with this word, and it's using the homepage words when it's the product page. That doesn't make sense. Like, why would you compete for the same word? With different pages, because Google doesn't even let you rank for different pages for the same keywords really. And you want to take advantage of different page content to target different keywords. They sometimes they take your headlines H1 they'll take your anchor text, they'll take your navigation links. This anything that they can see on your website that they feel is better to serve as the purpose of the title tag, they might just do it. So it's important to know, okay, if your title tag is not being used, what are they using and why are they using it? You can learn from that perspective. Maybe we optimize the title tag. But again, Google, they sometimes they want to do things the way they feel is the best. So sometimes you just can't help it. But if you don't optimize it, more likely they're going to use something you don't want. Ideally, sometimes. This is pretty much it. That's really all I want to talk about for title. There's definitely advanced tactics, like I was saying, using numbers, using symbols, emojis. Probably not emojis, but because people probably think it's really spammy. Don't want to click on it. Google might think that way too. But I'm sure for social media, emojis is kind of eye-catching and people engage well with it. You can always play around and test, right? You can always use emotional words that have emotional ties to it. It's just marketing, right? You want to be able to start off emotions when people are reading certain things, make them happy, make them scared, but not too scared, obviously. Those are triggers for them to want to click, make them curious. I like curiosity the most because it's not like you're not really always going to be talking about something that's positive or negative. It's just like politics, right? When we talk about politics, people don't want to be one-sided. Most people want to be status quo, even though I'm opposed to that. But that's just how the trend is. So you want to, I think curiosity is really a safe way to do it. Using a question approach to write a title is great, right? How do I write SEO title tags? If you can add to it. If I never done SEO before, if I'm in the VR industry, there's so many ways to do this. You can test it and see results to see how you can write the best SEO title tags. All right, cool. That's it. Thank you for tuning in. Make sure to like the video. Feel free to ask some comments if you have any further questions, or even if you have better advice that you want me to consider. I would love to hear. I'm always open to feedback, and I think SEO is always evolving. There's never one answer for for any of the questions in the SEO field, because it always depends on situations. Always depend on the types of sites, and what the stage we're in terms of Google's algorithm. So always best to communicate and learn from each other. Yeah, so share the content if you want to, let your peers, friends, coworkers, or anybody, family know. And I'll see you next time at White Hat SEO Services. Thank you.